Hello. Uh, Jason is playing at his band. So it's just me. And anybody else who wants to join. I don't know. Does anybody else want to join my supposed Hebrew Bible study where we don't actually study the Bible very often? Minion of Miner's Mine, Miner's Mines, Mort 9. Yeah, the new Minecraft skin for that was just hilarious. Uh, Still working out. No, not at all. My gym membership has been completely unused forever. Um, there is a gym not far, a 24-hour fitness, not far from where I'm doing my internship. And I probably should, but yeah. Nope, I have not been working out. But I do have this to share. Tell me that isn't cute. Cats and dogs living together. Yeah, I did not suspect Shadow and Happy would be like sharing beds like that. Hey, Sandy. Yeah, isn't it cute? It's pretty cute. When I saw it, I was like, I have to take a picture, even though it shows how messy my apartment is. Hinematov, Hinematov. How beautiful it is. Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. The dwelling of brothers, lo verily together. I believe that's from Isaiah. I believe. I mean, I could look it up. This is Bible study. We could talk about the lion and what is it? It's not. It's the lion and the lamb. Yeah. Well, first let's take a look at. Psalm 133. No, that's not it. Is it? Yeah, Psalm 133. Oh, let's check. Safaria. Let's pull up Safaria. Share this tab instead. You guys are seeing Safaria. Tanakh. It's at the beginning of Ketuvim. 133, did I say? 133. 133. Shir Hama'alot LeDavid, Hine Matov Umanayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yahad. A Ma'alot poem of David. A psalm upon the stairs by David is how I would have translated it. I wonder if other people translated it that way. Let's go see what Bible Hub does. Psalms 33. A Song of Ascents of David. New Living. A lot of these translations will have it as a note because they're Christians. A Song of Ascents again. A Song of Degrees. King James Bible of David. New King James, A Song of Ascents. Song of Ascents. Ascents. Degrees. Ascents. God's Word translation, a song by David for going up to worship. Song of Ascents. 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 Song of Degrees again. So we keep on getting degrees and ascents, whereas I would have used the steps. So that was, hey Bill, how you doing? So that was that. Now, where were we going to go next? We were going to look up the Lion and the Lamb. Isaiah 11. Isaiah 11. I missed Isaiah. Where's Isaiah? Isaiah 11. Was it 6 through 9? Where were we? There we were. Hey, let's do the whole chapter thing. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. And the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and of the fear of the Lord. And his delight shall be in the fear of the Lord. V'haricho beyirat Hashem. So I believe this is where the Talmud gets the thing that Reach V'dayin, that the Messiah will be able to judge by smell. And he shall not judge after the sights of his eyes, neither decide after the hearings of his ears. Yeah, so I believe this is the verse that the Talmud gets that idea from. But with righteousness shall he judge the poor, and decide with equity for the meek of the earth. And he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked. And righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid. Really? So why was I thinking this lion with the lamb and not the wolf with the lamb? And the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. So the Hebrew is Vigar, and shall sojourn, Ze'ev in Keves. So Ze'ev being usually translated as wolf, and Keves is a shepsel. is a little is a sheep, young sheep, caddis, lamb. Venamer, leopard, im gedi, with a young, uh, the young goat. Yerbats will crouch or lie down. The egel ukfir umri yachdav. So egel is a calf, yeah. Kafir is a young lion, yes. And Marie, I have no idea what a Marie is, but they translated it as fatling. Let's see here. Marie. Well-fed fatling. Huh. Samuel 6:13 three times. Meri'im. Isaiah 1:11. Ezekiel 39:18. And here we have Isaiah 11:16. Elsewhere, only of sacrificial animals. In Amos, in Isaiah, Vayizbach, Shor or Miri, 2 Samuel 6:13. Interesting. I didn't know this word. Together. V'na'ar katon noheg bam. Yep. So, them's the verses. We get so much more Bible study done when Jason isn't here. Jason is playing the banjo, I think, or he might be playing the guitar, or he might be singing with his band. Therefore, he's not here. Jason and David are thinking about doing a series together on the Book of Judges. Billy Ray,
How you doing, sir?
Wow, you're looking distinguished.
Sir?
You got a haircut? You're looking pretty good.
Yeah, it happens every 6 months or so.
You clean up?
Yeah, yeah. Who's got time to go to the barber?
I actually shave my own head, which is a pretty, I hate doing it, but, the barbers charge like $100 for the full, yeah, and it's like, are you kidding me?
Cost of living out there, I reckon, because here you can get a haircut, a shave, a lineup, hot towel, the whole 9 yards for $45.
Okay, but even $45 is a lot, and then you got a tip. I mean, I'm not gonna just do the $45 and not give a tip. And it's like, if I'm gonna do that every couple of weeks, no, that's way more money than I can.
Yeah. That might be why I only do it every 3 months or so, or 6 months. I don't know, but Look, I can cut a straight line with a chainsaw, with a skill saw, any other kind of saw. You give me a set of clippers, I can't cut a straight line to save my life.
Well, it's your own head. That's the hard part. Like shaving my own head. Yeah, I always end up missing a spot or something. You know.
Well, my head's lopsided, so it's real difficult.
So how have you been, Billy? How are things?
Things are going pretty good, man. Very busy, but they seem to be going pretty good. I'm in the middle of uh, trying to recertify for my job and get new certifications for the job and recertify for foster care and take those classes. So it's just been
Yeah, I have. So for my insurance business, like I've been ignoring it as much as I can, and I'm actually going to lose out on some commissions because I just couldn't do all the Medicare certifications just because I have to take all these classes in order to just even get my renewal commissions.
mhm.
And um, but now I have to renew my license, my insurance license at all, and I definitely have to do that. And I have a bunch of stupid continuing education courses I have to do.
Yeah. So through my work, I got like 55 hours of class I got to do for all the research at work, just so I can be is it a brand standard. And
Mm.
then with foster care, it's another 20 hours of continuing education. And then to have my external certifications up to date or new ones, it's around 100 hours. And I got till June to do all this.
So when I first started with insurance, the continuing education actually wasn't bad, especially because I was taking a lot of classes where I was learning things that I myself wanted to learn, and I was getting credit for them. So I banked up so many hours, especially for my license. Like I never worried about actually doing continuing education, like for my license, because I had hours up the wazoo. But then, like now it's just such a pain. At some point at some point they should realize, okay, I've been doing this for 10 years. Either have like some sort of higher level course, or stop bothering me with like the same thing over and over again. Although part of the problem with Medicare is they change the rules every year. And it's so dumb, and I have to recertify for each of my companies. I represent like about 6 7 companies with a dozen different programs, like each. Like I have to sit there and do hours and hours, and I just and they don't pay me enough, frankly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Medicaid's a pain in Medicaid and Medicare is a pain in the butt to work with. So
Yeah.
something I don't talk about all that often is I have they're actually not my family members. Well,
Mm.
one anyway, I have a specific person that my friend's mom. He's in a wheelchair and his mom's nuts, and so when she got too much for him to handle, I took over the um, I took over what I could, and anyway, she's in a nursing home, and there's going through Medicare is a pain in the butt, and trying to make sure that she's actually getting her prescriptions and getting to the doctors, and that the nursing home is doing what they're supposed to is time consuming, and Medicare don't want to pay for nothing.
Yeah. So in Los Angeles, I mean, I don't know if you guys have the same programs we do out there as uh, But in Los Angeles, somebody who's in an institution, there are special Medicare Advantage plans for them, and those they can function. I mean, look, it's always difficult to make government things work, right?
Yeah.
It it's hard to make anything work, but especially government things, right? Because it's stuff that has to be done, and it's hard, like especially with all of the stupid, like they end up putting so many requirements on things that in private business you just wouldn't do, right? And so yeah, it, who was it? I was listening to somebody say there are no solutions, only trade-offs, and I think that's a bit defeatist, because look, you can actually make situations better. So I don't like that idea that there's no solutions, only trade-offs, because sometimes you do find a solution, or you do find something that's actually better, but you also have to accept, the perfect. You can't let the perfect be the enemy of the better than, if not, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so I'll tell you one of the things that we've struggled with this particular person is they have a lot of physical and mental health issues, and so quite a bit of the medicine that they are on is psychotropic or narcotic in nature, right?
Mhm.
And because of where this particular person is, um, they only send a week at a time's medicine, right? And it's all divvied out and the thing. Well, the thing is every time they send it, it's a $3 copay every time. And so this particular person's on like 15 different medications, and eight of them they're refilling every week. And it ends up being that their copay for their medicine is, I think they get like $75 a month after it's all said and done in their pocket, and their copay is $140 a month just for medicine. That money's got to come from somewhere. That
Yeah.
that kind of stuff is just, there got to be a better way, because it's up to us to pay the difference.
Well, yeah. It's medication is difficult. Honestly, that's not the worst story. Like I remember there was one couple. Um, the husband had diabetes, and he was on Medicare. And when I went to help them out, um, I changed his Medicare plan. And the next year, I went to talk to them, and I was talking to, and his wife just broke down in tears, and she's like, "You're an angel. You saved our lives. We pay. We used to like you saved us $1,000 a month. Yeah, $1,000 a month, right? And it was just because his Medicare wasn't set up correctly. And diabetes used to, like, they've done a lot to fix the insulin stuff over the past few years, but insulin was just so crazy expensive. And yeah, she was telling me, we're borrowing money from our kids that we never thought we would be able to pay back. And sometimes I would joke about, like, we can buy your insulin or we can buy your groceries, but not both. Um, and she was working two jobs because he was much older than she was, and he was retired, and he wasn't earning a lot of money, and she was working two jobs, right? And so it was like, there's a lot there's a lot that can be fixed if our society actually had a if we were more capable of having the discussions that we need to have. Um, so I mean, I studied government a lot when I was younger. Like I went to law school, and this is what I was studying, right? And what I don't like to say, because a lot of people think that right now it's worse than it was like 50 years ago. And when you've studied like how bad the government was 50 years ago, it's actually a lot better now than it was 50 years ago. But now that we have all this information technology and stuff, and we can communicate so much more, it's so much more obvious to us the things that aren't working, that people become very, very depressed about, like, okay, well, why aren't you fixing all this corruption that seems really obvious, right? And some of it is very obvious and needs to be corrected. And people didn't know necessarily 50 years ago. So, I mean, it's hard not to get depressed when you see, hey, look, there's something that obviously you could be doing better. Why aren't you fixing it, right? And nobody's willing to fix it. At the same time, I would not want to be living 200 years ago. I've studied enough history to know that I live better than any king anywhere. Like, my life right now is more comfortable and more safe. Like, I mean, just every time I ever get like a toothache or a headache and I take an aspirin, and it goes away, I think, oh my God, I can't even imagine living in a world where there weren't aspirins.
True. Yeah, but if you lived 120 years ago, you'd have had a lot of them. So, that's even better.
I'm not so sure about that. But yeah.
The reason why I jumped on is
Yeah.
I have this theory about Esau I wanted to ask you about.
Okay.
So, when Joseph went to Egypt and the 7 plagues or the 7 years of famine happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I was thinking about it. It's like, I wonder if that was to take the material wealth that Esau inherited. So Esau inherited Abraham's and Isaac's wealth, right? So Jacob might have got the spiritual blessing,
Yeah.
but Esau got all the wealth from Abraham and Isaac. And I was curious if the 7-year famine
Mm-hmm.
hurt everybody, if that wiped away all of God's blessings and those that material inheritance that Esau got.
That is an interesting question. I had never actually really considered like Esau and at the time um, of Joseph, because obviously, so that's what, about 20 years, must be at least 20 years, probably more, than after the last time we have Jacob and Esau meeting up.
Mm-hmm. No, it's got to be more than 20 years.
It definitely has to be. Well, okay, so when they meet up, um, Jacob is married already because he has kids.
Right,
When
but didn't Joseph spend like 15 years in prison though?
Yeah, yeah. So it's got to be closer to like 40 years.
Right.
Yeah. I was just thinking it's at the very least 20 years. But it's probably closer to 40, maybe even more. I mean, the children of Esau were given Mount Seir and like Edom, and so the Edomite kingdom was actually. I really don't know. This is a really good question that I've never actually considered. What happened to Esau during the plagues of Egypt? Let's Google it and see what Google says. Rabbi
It's
Google
just,
knows everything.
yeah, if you got the patience to filter through all the nonsense.
Esau during the well, there are people who have asked this question.
Really? That's cool.
I'm trying to see. Well, yeah. So this is a Christian site. Let's see what the Christian site says. Where was Esau during Joseph's famine? It's a YouTube video. Okay. Kind of. Okay, this is a video, YouTube video, and the transcript is not. Yeah, this isn't so useful. Let me see if there's anything else. Let's see if Esau shows up here. Let's see. Hey, Yosef-san. Let me ask Yosef. Yosef's going to jump on. You're going to get an actual answer from somebody who actually knows his Bible. There you go. Yep.
Because, well, you know, what got me thinking about it, I was reading, you know, Balaam, the prophet, the Balaam, and he's supposed to be a great grandchild of Esau, and he does not seem to be doing well at all, at least not in material goods, and not living like a king anyway. And it you know, there's a lot of Abraham was a very rich man.
Yeah.
You know, so was Isaac. So I was just curious. You know, it just also in my circles, a lot of people like to bring up Esau, and you know, anyway, there's a lot of conspiracy theories about Esau in my circles to begin with. So it's just something that I thought of.
So in Jewish thought, especially over the past 1,500 years, the idea generally accept. There's Yosef. Whoa.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, Yosef.
Yosef, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, Billy. How you doing?
Pretty
So
good.
Billy had a great question.
Okay.
What happened to Esau during the famine in Egypt?
Oh no, it doesn't come up.
can't think of any magician that addressed it. I mean, he's down.
We
Really?
can barely hear you.
Oh gosh. Get
Okay.
closer, I guess. I don't know.
Yes,
Um,
much better.
No, absolutely no idea. I can't think of any midrash that talks about it. He never comes up. We don't hear about him again until Devarim, right? So we basically we don't hear about him at all from Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, not until Deuteronomy, where they talk about going around the land of Judah. And the best, and that's the only clues we really have is that he seems to be incorporated into this really big tribe on Mount Seir, and he's married into them. I mean, they're a desert tribe, but so who knows what types of reserves they have.
But that's 200 years after.
Well, no, but in Devarim, they're describing. I mean, they go back and describe how Esau ends up with Mount Seir. So like it's
Okay.
so even though yes, it's being recorded later, like it's still about how he ends up with it. So it still counts, I would say, is the closest we have to certain insight, but we have no idea how he survived. I mean, clearly not everyone dies off. Like Canaan isn't suddenly fully empty of a population. I would presume it's like other famines where you have a significant portion of the population die off, but like, we don't really know.
Well, Billy was saying Abraham had a lot of wealth, and it seems that the man of the hour is here. Rabbi Daniel Shalom is here.
So what my question is, Joseph, is so because Abraham had quite a bit of wealth, and then Isaac inherited it and presumably grew it a little bit. When Jacob took off from fear of being killed by Esau would have inherited everything, the physical inheritance of everything that Abraham and Isaac had, right? Because Jacob wasn't around.
I'm not so sure, actually. I'm not sure. Isaac wasn't dead yet. Isaac is not dead, but before Jacob gets back, he wouldn't have inherited anything yet.
But I don't remember him ever going back to Isaac.
He buries him later, yeah.
Oh yeah, true. Okay.
Yeah. So I think both Esau and Jacob seemingly are described as self-made men. Neither of them. I mean, Isaac definitely gets stuff from Abraham, and he also, it says, God blesses him with a lot of stuff on his own. He gets 100 gates, is the phrase translated. Whatever that means. 100 cities, 100 times what he had. Mea Sharim, which is the name of a very sturdy neighborhood now. But yeah, but Jacob's wealth comes from Lavan and his, ability to manage flax, and seemingly Esau comes from his ability to organize men and troops, and potentially, I mean, it depends. There's some Midrashim that imply that he's like stealing things and whatever, and he's using those troops to, pillage and raid. That's the Midrash. It's not so clear. Otherwise, in the rest of the, he also marries into a very wealthy family. I mean, he marries actually into two fairly wealthy families. He marries into Ishmael's family, and he marries the princess of Seir, essentially. I mean, a huge and powerful tribe, some semi-desert tribe in the south that seems to have controlled some amount of the bronze trade, if nothing else. So
okay.
I mean, we have archaeological excavations of Seir. It's really cool. It's one of the few places. It's actually one of our oldest sample of Techela. So like the turquoise dye fabric is from there. And it's also like they were doing a lot of bronze smithing. It was probably their main trade. So.
Okay, since you brought it up, what do you think of the Techelet?
I think the Chilazon, I think we've identified it. I think it's complicated to figure out exactly what shade it's supposed to be. That's a really big problem. However, I mean, Don can now attest. I met him today in Shul. So my Talit Gadol has Techela. My Talit Katan does not.
Ooh, your Talit Gadol has Techela. Did your father-in-law buy it for you or no? The Sephardic tradition.
My soon-to-be wife bought it for me.
Okay, yeah, the Sephardic tradition is your father-in-law buys you the the talit, and you make a shechianu underneath
Right.
the chuppah.
So we don't say shechianu under the chuppah, but my wife, well, also my wife, yeah, but she bought it for me, and we used it. We tied the chuppah was made of with our two fathers' talit together.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I don't have a better answer on Esav, but I would look in Deuteronomy when it talks about how he ends up with Mount Seir. That's the best clues we have. We don't really know how he survived with that.
Okay. Well, so my weird theory was the plague was the famine was to wipe out Esau's physical inheritance of, but anyway, it doesn't matter now because it's
Yeah, and he's there. Clearly, I mean, clearly they're there and they have wealth and they survive until the Babylonians. Or I mean, they get destroyed after Jerusalem gets destroyed, but it's pretty clearly there. I mean, the book of Obadiah.
well, right. I didn't mean wipe them out. I just meant, destroy the wealth that they got from Abraham. But if
There's no
Jacob
there's
had
no
the
problem with them
opportunity,
getting wealth from Abraham. I mean, Esav is not. He's not the firstborn, but he's still a son of Abraham. I mean, he still has to be part of the. He's not part of the covenant directly, but he's still he's still one of the nations promised to Abraham, right? That's not incidental. He's still part of the inheritance. In fact, right, there's originally 10 Canaanite nations that Abraham told he will inherit, and the Jews are only inherit the land of 7 of them, right? 3 of them go to Ammon, Moab, and Esav. So Edom, right? So that's an important thing. As they're part of, even though they're not part of the main covenant, the 7, they're still part of the bigger covenant of getting the land that Abraham was promised.
okay.
Historically, yes, there was the tension, animosity, problems with Esav and Jacob. They seem to make up, but then they keep a distance from each other so they don't kill each other, right? And for the most part, we don't really hear about Esav being a big problem in the times of the judges or the kings. It's really only at the I can't remember, maybe one at a time, but it's really just the destruction of the first temple where they join in with the Babylonians as an ally, where the prophets seem to get really upset with them for turning against their brother. And repeating the
Balaam
pattern.
a big problem though.
Is in who?
Balaam, the prophet Balaam.
Yeah, well, so he's not from Esav.
I thought he was.
No, he works for the Moabites, but he's actually from way up north in the Euphrates River in Syria. I mean, he's an Aramean or something. He's very far away.
All right, so that was a misunderstanding on my part. I thought he was part of the
No,
Esau.
he's not.
Okay.
No, he comes down south to help support the Midianites and Moabites, who are neighbors of Edom, but they're not Edom. Yeah. Well, come on and leave a comment maybe. If there's any place where we hear about the Edom problem or the destruction of the temple after Deuteronomy. Maybe one. I mean, but there's a couple Psalms that might hint at something, but it's not clear if they're talking about the destruction of the first temple or if they're some earlier temple.
Okay.
Anyway,
So
it's almost midnight here. I'm gonna bounce, but
okay.
Yeah. Have a good night, guys. Good to see you.
Thank you, sir. Good to see you.
Thank you. So there you go. Yosef answered you as much better than I could.
Hey, Yosef always destroys my half-baked ideas about the Bible.
Well, he knows. I mean, he knows so much.
I know. That's why I like talking to him.
Yeah.
But I don't like to respond to him because I look like an idiot.
No, I mean, that was actually a very interesting question. I haven't even considered it. Yeah. Yep.
Anyway, I'm going to get off here too because it's midnight and I can still hear my boy up and running around.
So you're gonna have to go put him to bed.
Yeah, I took him bowling and it wired him all up.
Nice. Nice. How old
Yeah.
is he?
3.5, but it didn't stop him from having fun bowling.
Okay. Did they put the bumpers? Do they
Oh,
have
yeah.
bumpers? Okay.
Definitely put bumpers up. And they got this thing that's shaped like a dragon. That's a
Mhm.
slide, so you can stick the ball on it and then roll down.
Yeah. Okay. That works.
Uh, yeah, because when he was trying to throw the ball down the thing, it was
Yeah.
getting stuck and getting stuck in the middle of the lane and whatnot. But with the little dragon thing, it worked out pretty good. But somehow that little feller was carrying an 8-pound bowling ball, no problem. And
Nice.
it looked like Oompa Loompa, waddling down.
You got to make videos of this stuff.
Yeah. So the weird thing, my wife has started to like, I guess, on the Facebook share some pictures of him because he's adopted now with
Yeah.
friends and family. But for over 4 years now, we've been absolutely no pictures on the internet whatsoever. Blah blah blah. You can't, any kid, it's you can't do it.
Yeah.
And so it's still weird to even think about, other than professional pictures, to take a picture. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, you can always take pictures to keep, even if you don't put them
Yeah.
on the internet. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I understand it, but yes, we have professional pictures taken, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying it's still.
Yeah.
You do something, you think about something in one way for a very long time.
Yeah. It
Switching on the
becomes
dime.
habit. Yeah.
Yes, becomes a habit. Hey man, I appreciate you. I was hoping to help, but anyway,
you.
thank you for helping me both, Jacob and Joseph. I hope you have a good night, buddy.
Good night. God bless.
God bless you.
Okay, Donnie, that means you have to jump on. It's all you. I didn't actually read Donnie's comments. Donnie said, as Esau likely took up meditation and went through a serious Zen phase. A gute heilige Shavua. Who's Mr. Max Scorpion? Do we have a third Max here? Silent stream, very avant-garde. Yeah, that's how I get people to join the stream. Chazi joined. Chazi is here. Okay, Chazi. I've been reading an interesting midrash from the Talmud. Where were we? Where was I? Is this the one that I was reading? There. Okay. Did I put all out? I did, yes. Okay. So we'll just read the English. It's talking about the burial of we'll start from here. Okay. This is Sota 13a, second paragraph, according to our new teachers here in here. Let me just English so it's easier to read. Okay. The Mishnah teaches Joseph merited to bury his father, resulting in a display of great honor to his father. The Gemara begins its discussion of the burial of Jacob by asking, what is different initially that it is written, and Joseph went up to bury his father, and with him went all the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his house, and all the elders of the land of Egypt. Genesis 50, verse 7. And afterward, it says, in the following verse, and all the house of Joseph and his brethren and his father's house. Only their little ones and their flocks and their herds they left in the land of Goshen. Verse 8, indicating the brothers of Joseph were second in importance to the Egyptians. And what is different at the end that it is written, and Joseph returned into Egypt, he and his brethren. And afterward it states, and all that went up with him to bury his father, after he had buried his father. Verse 14, placing the brothers before the Egyptians. Rabbi Yochanan says, initially, before the Egyptians saw the honor of the Jewish people, as the Gemara will soon explain, they did not treat them with honor. So the brothers were behind the servants of Pharaoh. And in the end, when they saw their honor, they treated the brothers with honor. The Gemara explains what honor was accorded to the family of Jacob. As it is written, and they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond the Jordan, and there they wailed with a very great and sore wailing, and he made a mourning for his father 7 days. Verse 10. The word Atad is the name of the boxthorn bush. And does a boxthorn bush have a threshing floor? Thorns are not collected and eaten. Rabbi Abahu says this teaches that they surrounded the casket of Jacob with crowns, like the threshing floor that is surrounded with boxthorns, because the children of Esau and the children of Ishmael and the children of Keturah all came to the burial of Jacob. Sage taught, initially they all came to wage war with the family of Jacob, but once they saw the crown of Joseph, the viceroy of Egypt, hanging on the casket of Jacob, they all took their crowns and hung them on the casket of Jacob. A sage taught 36 crowns were hung on the casket of Jacob. This was the great honor accorded to the family of Jacob. The Gemara continues its discussion of Jacob's burial. The verse states, and there they wailed with a very great and sore wailing. Genesis 50, verse 10. And it is taught, even horses and even donkeys participated in the mourning. Once they reached the cave of Machpelah, Esau came and was preventing them from burying Jacob there. He said to them, It says, and Jacob came unto Isaac his father to Mamre, to Kiryat Arba, the same is Hebron, where Abraham and Isaac sojourned. Genesis 35:27. And Rabbi Yitzchak says, it is called Kiryat Arba because there were 4 couples buried there: Adam and Eve, Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, Jacob and Leah. Esau said, Jacob buried Leah in his spot, and the spot that is remaining is mine. The children of Jacob said to Esau, you sold your rights to Jacob. Esau said to them, though I sold the birthright, did I also sell my rights to the burial site as an ordinary brother? The brother said to him, yes, you also sold to Jacob those rights, as it is written that Joseph stated, my father made me swear, saying, behold, I die in my grave that I have dug, Kariti, for me in the land of Canaan. There shall you bury me. And Rabbi Yochanan says, in the name of Rabbi Shimon ben Tzadok, the word kira in the verse is nothing other than a term for sale, mechira, sharing a similar root. Because in the cities overseas, they call a sale kira. Esau said to them, bring the bill of sale to me, i.e., you can't prove your claims. They said to him, the bill of sale is in the land of Egypt. That they said, and who will go to bring it? Naphtali will go, for he is as fast as a doe. As it is written, Naphtali is a doe let loose. He gives goodly words. Genesis 49:21. Rabbi Abahu says, do not read it as goodly words, Imre Shafer. Rather, read it Imre Sefer, i.e. the words of the book as he returns to Egypt to retrieve the bill of sale. The Gemara relates, Hushim, the son of Dan, was there, and his ears were heavy, i.e. he was hard of hearing. He said to them, what is this that is delaying the burial? And they said to him, this one, Esau, is preventing us from burying Jacob until Naphtali comes back from the land of Egypt with a bill of sale. He said to them, and until Naphtali comes back from the land of Egypt, will our father's father lie in degradation? He took a club, kulepa, and hit Esau on the head. And Esau's eyes fell out, and they fell on the legs of Jacob. Jacob opened his eyes and smiled. And this is that which is written, the righteous shall rejoice when he sees the vengeance. He shall wash his feet in the blood of the wicked. Psalms 58:11. At that moment, the prophecy of Rebekah was fulfilled, as it is written that Rebekah said of Jacob and Esau, why should I be bereaved? Why should I, the Hebrew is more clearly, why should I bury both of you in one day? Genesis 27:45. As Rebekah foresaw that the future bereavement for both her sons would be on the same day. The Gemara comments, and although their deaths were not on the same day, in any event, their burials were on the same day, as Esau was killed and buried in the same day that Jacob was buried. The Gemara returns to discuss the involvement of Joseph and his brothers in the burial of their father. And if Joseph would not have dealt with the burial of Jacob, would his brothers not have dealt with it? But isn't it written, for his sons carried him into the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave of the field of Machpelah? Since it is evidence that the brothers were involved in the burial, why did they not deal with Jacob's burial needs from the outset? The Gemara answers, they said, allow Joseph to take care of it, because this is more honor for our father to be prepared for burial by royalty than by common people. Hediotot. So And then it moves on to a different Mishnah. Matthew Aparlato. Hey, Matthew. You were on with Jason last night. Buenas noches, although there's no T in noches, my friend. Or there was 2 separate burial parties. I have another interpretation for Kira. Lama Ashkol Gam Shnechan. Yeah. Oh, it's Ashkol? I thought it was Ekvor. Came true. Yeah. Anyway, Jason's not here, so Billy Ray jumped on to keep me company for a little while. I'm wondering if this is Max or Max. You can join in a few for a few. It seems my channel gets more traffic when I'm not here than when I am. Well, if you guys don't need me, I can just leave the channel and let other people stream. Hey, Rabbi. Jason is. Uh, Jason is playing in a band. Chazi!
Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov. How are you
How
doing?
are you? I'm good, thank God.
What are you up to?
I just dropped my boys off, and I am going to start cleaning the house soon, making sure my wife comes home to a clean, neat home. So I'm dealing with that. I had a lot of guests. Not a lot of guests. I had my in-laws, my sister-in-law, brother-in-law, their kids.
Your wife is away? Or
No, she took my daughter to kindergarten, and then she's off straight to work. So I just she's gonna come home earlier, and I'd rather the house be set. The boys' homework stations are set. There's a routine.
you have homework stations for your sons.
I mean, it's on the table, but just like I make sure to each one drinks their own little drink and has their own little snacks. I make sure their snacks are ready by their homework stations, and they can go
Wow.
sit down and work. And I'll take usually. That's when I'll do. That is when I will do some work on the computer, and they'll be sitting next to me, and each one of them can ask me questions if they have any issues or need help, so I can be there for them.
You're such a good tati.
I try. I mean, I don't know. It's important, obviously, to spend time with them, but that's general. But it's. I feel like there's a sense of urgency, just because the constant change of. I mean, you could see these teachers in Israel specifically. I have to deal with post-corona, during war, and technological advancements. So, like, how they want to teach these kids to read, to write, to understand things, it's just you gotta be involved if you want to stay ahead of the curve, or at the very least, I don't know, I feel like I'm giving them the tools that they need. Having said that, I know that I have no idea what's coming down in 5 years or 10 years. So,
Okay, so I will tell you, I think it's really important to focus on things that are mostly eternal, because technology comes and goes. It's the fundamentals that don't change, that haven't changed even for thousands of years, that are the ones that actually give you long-term capacity to deal with change.
yes, however, you and I have disagreed already in the past about do these changes, are they going to be like fundamental changes, tectonic shifts, so to speak? And an example I always use is the concept of patience, right? I have a tolerance of patience that, let's say, makes sense relative to the world I lived in with my dad. Does that level of patience make sense to my child when he's like, it just sounds like you're constantly telling me to slow down, even though I live in a much faster world, and you maybe can't keep up, old man?
Okay, so how many times have I had people like Yosef and Sam Titteman and
Yes, I
other
know.
people explain to you that you're completely wrong about what you think?
None of them have said I'm completely wrong. Both of them have agreed at certain aspects. We obviously, none of us know what's coming down the line. I'm not even saying yet, like, these people are gonna, like, these robots are now your dad. Like, forget that. I'm not.
Good.
I'm not talking about that.
Glad to hear it.
I do mean, like, again, it sounds silly, but
Yes.
in 10 years from now, right? How would I tell my son, no, you can't get the glasses with the computer, even though everyone has the glasses with the computer connected to it?
In 10 years? Okay, guess what? In 10 years, you're not going to be making those decisions for your son.
In 10 years, he's 19. I don't know. I think I'm going to be involved, and definitely for the younger ones. I'm less concerned for my daughter, though.
You're not going to be telling him you can't.
No, that is true. Again, it's less about that specific example of me saying you can't do this. It's more, will I be able to engage with him? Will I be able to like? Are we still relevant? Is our wisdom still relevant? And I believe it is. Like, is
Yes,
it?
wisdom is relevant. That's the difference between wisdom, right? So Pirkei Avot
Nachon, nachon, nachon.
is something that's going to stand for your
The
kids
test of time.
the test of time, because yeah, like have you heard of the Lindy effect?
Like James Lindy?
No, that's James Lindsay.
Lindsay. Yeah, so no, I don't know the Lindy effect.
Okay, so this is something that Nassim Taleb talks about,
Mm-hmm.
which is if you have no other information about something that doesn't have a natural lifespan, like say a corporation,
Yeah.
and it's specifically named after a restaurant called Lindy, which is in New York, right?
I got you. This is what he's taking his example based off of. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you want to predict which one of these things is going to last the longest, right?
Yes.
Like you want to know which restaurant is still going to be here the longest, right?
Yeah.
Statistically, the one you want to put your money on is the one that's already lasted the longest, because since you don't know anything else about it, you can you would assume that each one of them is at their half-life, and so the one that's lasted the longest is the one who's most likely to last the same. Like if it's lived if that restaurant's been there for 70 years, it's the one that's most likely to still be there in 70 years.
I
The
hear that.
smoke.
It's
Yeah.
like a different playoff of sort of like Chesterton's fence, which is like if you see the old wall or fence in the forest, don't assume to go and rip it down and break it down. It's obviously there for a reason and stood the test of time.
Yeah, but this is a prediction about how, and statistically he's right. This is a real thing that happens. So when it comes to things like wisdom, like books, right? If you want to know which book is going to be still being read in 100 years, it's the one that was read at least 100 years ago. And the longer it's been read, the more likely it is that it's going to continue to be of value, right?
So this is also Jordan Peterson's Mishnah, right? Of how he gives an example how so much of the English language is based on, let's say, the classics like Dante or Shakespeare, right? And those words get repeated many times, all the way down to, right, the Bible, obviously, which is the core of the books, and all the languages and perceptions are based sort of on that matrix of the Bible, which makes it like the most fundamental and hence the most eternal.
Yeah.
So I hear what you're saying. Obviously, I have my own my own insecurities and concerns. Then I guess I hope for the best. You know, you're living in changing times. I was hoping that I didn't have to deal with. Maybe it was naive of me discussing like war with my children, and like that sort of like the effects of that. But nevertheless, that is something that I'm doing. And even that is sort of happening in like a surreal way. You know what I mean? There's people that are clearly feeling the war right now, captives and families of captives or soldiers. And then like my sons didn't have to, feel it yet. Well, I take that back. My son's played it yesterday. His father was shot. Thank God he's not wounded badly, but so I guess it does come home to roost eventually. But I've been fortunate enough this round to still walk through the raindrops. However, you're not gonna like this though, Jacob, but I'll share it regardless. At my I have two uncles that were killed and a cousin, unfortunately. And in one of them, with quite famous terror attack, my uncle and my cousin, might have mentioned this in the past. He was killed like the night before her wedding. It was like a whole big. It was a whole big thing. And
oh yeah, I remember you did mention this before. Yeah.
Right. So I remember when my grandfather was speaking, which by the way was a eulogy broadcast all around Israel in English, not translated. There was like 10,000 people at the funeral. It actually became a security hazard because they were scared that the roof of the funeral hall was going to cave in. They had to like clear people out. But he said, he's like, our family was fortunate enough. We've been here since the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, we were fortunate enough to dance between the raindrops. He's like, but at some point, we all have to pay our due. And we all have to, and I know you're going to be like, well, no. He's not saying God is demanding blood, obviously. But his point was that you can't, even statistically, a family of like over 100 people living here for so long is not going to be able to like.
Look, I have family members who were in terror attacks. I think every Jew who actually knows their family has had somebody who was in terror attacks.
Agreed.
I just have to ask if I mean, I don't know. When the Rebbe was alive.
Mm-hmm.
The Rebbe was very adamant in showing a strong stance because he said there are people who are living in Eretz Yisrael and they have to be protected, and I agree with that. And he was very opposed. He was very opposed even to the treaty with Egypt. And
because giving up the land.
Yeah.
Yes.
But see, this is the difference for me. Like, the Rebbe was the Rebbe, and I don't know that there's anybody like the Rebbe today who I have trust has siyata d'shmaya, if not nevuah. I just don't see anybody like that, and so I don't know.
Yeah, you're not going to get any pushback from me there, right? The lack of leadership, both political and religious, is very upsetting. I'm in the midst of trying to. It was pushed off. It was supposed to be this week. Sit down with Rabbi Shirky and another rabbi called Tully Weiss. Rabbi Tully Weiss, he runs this organization called Israel 365.
Mm-hmm.
And he does a lot of work with Christians. And I was trying to, sort of put them together, even though Rav Shirky is like less in the camp of like interfaith conversations. He has like his whole shita, which is, I can't have interfaith if they think we're all coming from the same place. I can only have interfaith conversation if they recognize the hierarchy and then want to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Which I obviously understand, but the idea was with what's going on with the war right now, more than that, with what's going on, like, the changes inside Christianity itself. Maybe there should be some sort of like olive branch, which is like, let's try to still engage in conversation, of course. But
I've said this before. I'm not sure if I've said it on stream. I probably have, but I think the greatest possible hope for Christianity actually recognizing its relationship with Judaism, let's put it that way, is the fact that the Eastern Orthodox, at least, and the Catholics have a tradition of dealing with the secular government in a way of making a the Catholics have this idea of concordat, right? And the Eastern Orthodox, they also have a basic concept of Dina de Malchuta Dina, right? And I have this impossible hope of the Bishop of Jerusalem from whatever denomination of Christianity, and each one of them, like the Oriental Orthodox have a Bishop of Jerusalem, and the Eastern Orthodox have a Bishop of Jerusalem, and the Catholics have a Bishop of Jerusalem, that each one of those bishops would feel that it would be a similar thing for them to go before a Beis Din to receive the ability to live in Eretz Yisrael, right? As a ger toshav.
As a ger toshav. Yeah, but you gotta. Yes, if you poskin like the Meiri, right? No, if you poskin like others, which it shouldn't be a problem. Obviously, you clearly have still like.
Well, I think the Beis Din, the Rabbanut needs to have a Beis Din, and the Beis Din has to say yes or no.
Yes, agreed. But like, I think we're in the early years. However, I'm optimistic that these conversations will become more mainstream in our lifetime. And I also think it's because of. I also think it's not only it's primarily because of channels and spaces like this that you've cultivated, which really, in a certain sense, brings me into this conversation that's been going around the little corner last few days, which was someone else said that like this happened a year ago, and they're right. It did almost happen like a year ago. There was like again a conversation about like what's this little corner. What are we doing? Who are we? What are the channels? So that conversation is going on again. I don't know if you saw. Paul was talking about it.
I saw it, and I'm deliberately staying away from it.
Okay. So can I ask questions about it, Jacob, or no?
Sure.
Okay. So specifically for me, it was interesting. So first I saw status, not status. I'm thinking in my head, like Jacob's going to be like Paul, take responsibility. They can't be a body without a leader. All the same conversations. Okay. So putting those conversations aside, I wonder within the corners, the corners of this little corner, right? The smaller groups, and let's say your channel is primarily like a bigger, like, a larger one in those smaller groups. Why I'm thinking about, let's say, Grail Country, right?
Has like 3 times the amount of subscribers I do.
Grail Country has like 1.5.
Really? I thought
something like that.
Much bigger than that.
I think my point being, it's not like a status thing. My point is that like yours is out and about there. However, unlike when Paul talks, and that's totally fine, there's always going to be a Christian sort of undertone to it. Mm-hmm. However, your channel, different than the other channels, is not clouting Mount Sophia, and is not like it's not looking for the Grail, right? You have a specific. This is the Jewish corner, because the content that's on it and who you are. So it was interesting to me how do you see like this specific little corner fitting into the little corner? Like, what's its story? If Paul is saying like we're trying to build community and we're trying to work together, and like this is like, the churches can't talk about these things, and here we could talk about it more publicly, but your goal is different than their goal in a certain extent. Obviously, you want community and you want people to be able to talking, and there's like the mental health aspect. but religiously, I guess, or theologically, where do you see yourself fitting in?
Okay, so when I was trying very hard to make this happen,
Mhm.
I
What's
was
this?
an actual organization that would
Oh,
be
okay,
like
okay, okay. Yeah.
like a traffic controller. And this is
Mhm.
what I talked to Paul about. I was
Right.
like, okay, so we need a maternal scaffolding, right? I talked about building a cathedral, right? And I
Right.
said, I'm not trying to build a cathedral like where I am the leader of the cathedral. I'm trying to build a cathedral where I can have a bench, right? So
Mhm.
there's the cathedral, and frankly, I tried finding somebody to be like Mo to
Right.
actually be the person to lead it, and I mean,
Needless to say, that didn't work out with him.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And so I said, okay, I've done everything I can, and I'm going to go back to building my bench, and that's what I'm doing. I'm building my bench.
Right. What is your bench? What is your bench? Okay, so we'll continue with this analogy. We know that many people are invited to sit on your bench, right?
Everyone's invited to sit on
right.
my bench.
Everyone's invited to sit on my bench. What is my bench looking at?
My bench is a Jewish bench.
Right. So, but okay. So, but is it building it up? Right. Okay. So Luke is talking yesterday in Grail Country.
Yeah.
I'm doing, and Tyro joins on, and they're saying, this is what I like. I like this. I like the conversation. We like each other. We don't want to be looking for the group that has like
Right.
hundreds
What they were saying, and what they continue to say over and over and over again. I watched some Grail Country recently. Is we don't want more people. We don't want too many people. We want it to be small. We want they don't want a cathedral. They want a house church. That's what they want. They want a house church.
Well,
they want a bench that's
want both.
not too big. For me, it's very important that whoever wants to come sit at my bench, I try as best I can to make it possible for them to come sit at my bench. Whoever wants to, and that doesn't mean that everything's hefker chas v'shalom. That doesn't mean that there's no rules, but the rules are in a way that each person has their proper place. And if you come and you want to sit in my section, right? There's a seat for everyone. That's been my big thing, is constantly trying to have an order which allows, if more people want to come, to allow more people to come. And the people who are not liking it are the people who are like, no, we don't want more people. And it's like, what kind of a person are you? What kind of a faithful person are you if you don't, if you want to turn people away? I don't understand you. It's one thing. I'm not going to go grab someone and make them come sit on my bench. But if somebody wants to come sit at my bench, Donnie is still here. Let me see what he says. It's hilarious that everyone in the corner is trying to figure out what the corner is. I think this discussion ironically defines what the corner is all about. Donnie, you haven't been here long enough. People have been talking, and I've given up on all the talking. The fact is, Protestants are doomed to constantly be like this.
But 1 second, Jacob. So let's look at your channel for a second, okay? Your channel has grown. Your channel now has in it like sub channels. There's a book club. There's Tanya classes. There's Pirkei Avot classes. There's a whole Noahide contingent to it, right? So you could come and say, listen, your bench.
And Baruch Hashem, now we have a Rav Moreh Hora who's actually involved.
And you managed to lock down your first rabbi. Exactly. You managed to exactly. So he's in there as well. So you could say that there's involvement over there, but that would be an example where your channel is taking on a form which makes sense, right? You're like, oh, it's a Jewish channel. So in Jewish channel, you're going to teach Jewish stuff, and more than that, because of the space it's in, right? There's like, oh, okay, and there's actually like a call for action in a certain sense, right? And like now we've galvanized these Noahides that you've identified, got into a group, and they're actually moving forward with like a specific mission, right? Which is like getting closer, learning more, doing more.
Chezi, it's all about the Rebbe. All I have is the guidance of the Rebbe. That's all I have is the guidance of the Rebbe, and I do things. I try the way the Rebbe, I believe the Rebbe taught me to do that.
Right. Okay. So what would the Rebbe, right? How would you go to the Rebbe now and say, the Rebbe wants to meet you now, Jacob, and he says, Jacob, what have you been up to? And you're not on a Kiruv mission, right? So he's gonna be like, he's gonna tell you, tell me about this little corner, Jacob. What is this?
This is my attempt at helping anyone that I have a capacity to help. This channel started partially because people were asking me questions. I got involved because I needed Jordan Peterson for myself. It was my own mental health I was worried about.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the people around me had questions about religion, and I answered them. And the when it comes down to what am I doing, it's Gemilut Chasadim, right? That's why Mayan Menachem is my project. That's where I put a lot of my time and my money, and I'm going back to school, and I'm taking classes, and I'm the fact that Max decided to move to Los Angeles is huge, because while it's certainly not just about me. I believe that like the move to Los Angeles made the most sense, but for me, it's far more important that Trey and Jack and Max and the other Max and Andrew, that all of us get together once in a while in Los Angeles as real human beings, than it is that people be on my channel. This channel exists for physical things in the real world, Dira B'Tachteinim, right? This coming Shabbos is Yud Shvat. We should learn Basi Lagani. You want to learn Basi Lagani? Bati Lagani.
Bati, thank you. Bati Lagani. Like he would say, Chol of Yisrael.
Yeah.
One second.
Yeah.
But Jacob, so let's say from my perspective, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you're a Zionist, Hashem Yerachem. Yeah, I'm not trying to get anybody to move to Israel.
No, I understand. I mean, not now. You're not, but first of all, unfortunately for you, you've already become more of a Zionist in the last year and a half.
Chalila v'chas.
I know you say that, but now you have the Zionist that talks in your channel all the time. The Noahides are being co-opted into a Zionist organization. You have
Chalila v'chas. Nothing has changed. I can learn Mayan Chacham with you if you like.
Jacob, Purim, you have to cover Magic the Gathering poster with an Israeli flag.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
That has to be there. Wait, so my point was, okay, someone like me,
Yeah.
okay, so I could come and say, listen, I found this little corner right through Jordan Peterson and things like that. And I saw Paul, and what a fascinating character. And I was talking to him, and I'm talking to you. But I could be like, oh, listen, Chezi, if you were in this space, which sort of seemed like dreamland, now it became very, solidified. You're talking to Ben, and you're giving a class. You do your parsha thing, and you're dealing with the Noahide, right? Now, what from the side, right? Like if I'm talking to, let's say, people watching me, they'll be like, okay, I get what you're doing right now, like on Jacob's channel. Why do you need to be involved with the TLC as like a religious Jew? How much more does the TLC really have to offer you, as far as like, community, right? You're a married guy, you have friends, you live in Israel. Like, what is it that you still are looking for in that?
If I wanted to be more involved in TLC, I probably would be more involved with Jonathan Pajot, but because of the prohibition of being Makarev or trying to recruit Gentiles, and he has a very Christian thing, like, I'm not going to go there. And Paul Vanderklay tried to have a much more open thing. And while I will support him as much as he's willing to take, right? The fact is, he didn't ask me, and he doesn't care. And when I mentioned even Mayan Menachem, right? He wasn't interested, and he's not interested. Okay, I'm not going to force anybody.
By the way, I mean, you're not interested. If you come and I'm just saying, if Max now wants to come speak, you and Max want to have a thing about Maya Menachem, and you're asking Paul to come and have a 2-hour discussion with you guys about something, I'm sure he'll join.
I already asked him. He said no.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's not something that's bringing people close to Jesus, and that's what he wants more than anything else.
Gotcha.
And he's a pastor.
That's fair. A Jewish pastor.
And let's face it, like, I'm actually taking people out of churches.
Okay. So there's the rub.
But I'm
right?
not doing it like, okay, I told Antonio to, hey, go try out the churches. I told him that. Like, no, I'm not trying to,
Jacob, vadai. But now I ask myself, right, when I'm on the Discord, right? Like, is like, Lynn wants to talk now about the Noahides, and I see, let's say, I know they're trolling in a healthy sense, so to speak, but let's say I see Trey and Andrew jumping on, and I see Kirk now dropping his, like, I'm gonna convert, so like maybe I'm a Noahide. Now, a part of me feels like, but these are all TLC people that are now, like, sort of getting involved in the Jewish corner. And is that fair to be, like, again, like you and I just said, we're not looking to be fishing for like wandering souls in the TLC.
I'm not fishing. I'm there because I believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and I believe HaKadosh Baruch Hu guides people where they need to be, and I have to do my work, and my work
what's your hishtadlut? I'm with you. Now I'm in this little corner, which you could say, like, oh, listen, it's the Eibishter, right? Like, it happened right now, and for me, it feels like, listen, very fulfilling, very it's very spiritual for me to be, like, in this space, like, wow, look at this. A year ago, I was talking to Jacob about, like, these concepts that, like, I haven't thought about in forever. 1,000 years ago, we forgot about them, and look how they're bubbling up, and suddenly I'm involved in this corner and that corner. The more I do, though, with this right now, then it's not happening by happenstance. Then it's already happening by my involvement and by me doing more. And then the question is this the right place to be doing that, like in the TLC, or is that not fair? Like, I one last thing. When I post my Parsha thing on the let's say the Bridges of Meaning promo stuff, where people put, like, different, like, things that they're promoting, a part of me feels, like, guilty, like, is this too Jewish specific to me? I know it's Bible, but, like,
Chazi, to some extent, you have to take the prohibition of proselytizing seriously.
Yeah.
and we're not going to trespass. I mean, Donnie says Jacob literally took me out of church, right? I'm living proof. The I'm here for the Jews, and I'm here for any Gentiles who have questions. But it's not my place to trespass on the Gentiles.
Well, so then that's sort of a question for the Gentiles in the TLC. How important for them is the little Jewish corner?
Right. And if they want to, if Paul wants to invite me onto his channel, when he invites me, when he engages with me, I'll engage with him. But I am not going to trespass on. I don't go on Grail Country very, very much, and I don't go because, look, if they want to invite me, they can invite me. And if they invite me, I will gladly go anywhere I'm invited. But I'm not pushing myself on anyone, hopefully. And to the extent that anybody feels that I'm pushing on them, that I'm intruding into their space, then I have made a mistake, and I'm sorry, and I've done something wrong.
So I guess that's sort of, as I think about the conversation of like, where's the TLC going? I also think to myself, like, and how does that look like for the quote unquote Jewish TLC within that group? And like, are we here as like more checking the box of, let's say, pluralistic, even though you'd be like, well, you don't have a lot of Muslims over here. There's like a big mix of, let's say, Christians. And again, how
if
like,
anything, I've actually been engaging with Muslims in trying to invite them into this little corner, right? Because I think it's the Muslims who eventually are going to teach the Christians not to be idolaters.
I hear what you're saying, and I think right. I mean, I hear Cassidy. Was it Cassidy or Teo? One of them said like, this is what like Christian YouTube should really look like. It should look like the TLC, where like there's a lot more. You know, you could discuss the Trinity, you could discuss these things. Now you could be saying, well, if you're going to be discussing those things, you obviously have to. If you're taking it seriously, you obviously have to have a Jewish voice.
No, the fact is, a lot of more and more Christians don't believe you have to have a Jewish voice. You're constantly hearing about how Judeo-Christian isn't real, and I mean, I took what happened at 770 very much to heart. It was incredibly difficult for me, but Donnie says, not to sound so cliche, but the diversity of voices is what makes this corner interesting. Right, but it's if they want a diversity. Look, the first time I went on Bridges of Meaning, I started talking. A few people said, this is a Christian server, and I left. And Sherry and Sam and Luke, all of them asked me to come back. And because they invited me to come back, I went back. And for me, I don't go where I'm not invited because it is against my religion to go where I'm not invited.
To be fair, though, Jacob, yeah, I'm sure your style of engagement, knowing you a little, is going to be different than, let's say, Yosef's style of engagement. Okay.
That's even more problematic for somebody who's winsome to, like, for me, at least when I go where I'm invited, it's clear that I'm not actually trying to sweeten the waters for you.
So that is a certain reason why, like, I've been like a little less active. Well, not a little, like, I've been a lot less active, like in Voxer, because I was like on a group over there where we talk a lot. But like, I don't know, someone posts like a super long thing about their confession, and and I'm not there to be constantly cutting people down, being like, well, we don't agree with this, and I'm not here to be like a party pooper necessarily, and I'm not looking to constantly push back. And now there's places where I can say like, oh, we agree with this as well, but that too, like I'm not looking just to paint the picture where everything, where we see things eye to eye. However, again, there's like fascinating conversations over here where you could see Christians seeing Jews more clearly and Jews seeing Christians more clearly, right? Obviously, the conversations of like with you and Father Stephen DeYoung are super beneficial, and I think that is like obviously pushing that's showing some sort of progress because it's clarifying the positions, but yeah, I guess I struggle with that. I struggle with like how I see my involvement in a place like this, specifically as as an Orthodox Jew.
Look, it's difficult, but ultimately we have famous lines. If the Jews don't make Kiddush, the Gentiles will make Havdalah.
Do you know that you saw this manic couple, the Collins?
Oh, right. Yes.
Okay, so I reached out. I reached out. I'm like, oh, like, I mean, it's in the ether just because they're a fairly larger channel. But like, if you guys would want to discuss, like, as an Orthodox, like, they're talking about having Judaism as their backup religion. Now, part of me feels like, oh, this is so cool to engage in, and another part of me feels like, what? Why do you even have to engage in that kind of thing? Like, what does it matter? Even if they want to,
to some extent, I almost wanted to like reach out to them and see if they wanted to talk. And I was actually surprised when I listened to that whole video. Like, they actually know a lot more about Judaism than I expected. Like, they're the type of people who do their real research. They actually know more about Judaism. Like, they were talking about modern Orthodox as opposed to Haredi, and they want their kids, like, they had picked out, they want modern Orthodox, not Haredi, which is kind of funny because I actually think what they really want is Haredi, not, in fact, not even like Chabad Haredi, but like Satmar Haredi, right? But
that's what I wanted to understand from them. I wanted to be like, as an Orthodox Jew or modern Orthodox Jew, like, are you guys really reading the pulse correctly? Like, I wanted to know how much do they know? They seem quite knowledgeable, and they seem also like people that are obsessed about getting information. So maybe they like have, maybe they have an Orthodox Jew locked downstairs that they're asking. but yeah, it would be interesting sort of to engage with them. But then again, I asked myself, like, why am I doing that?
Right.
Why? Like, what do I do? Like,
and when it comes down to it, I mean, it sounded like she said her family converted during World War II. So it's pretty recent that they have the matrilineal thing. But I don't know if they have the paperwork to show, like, that, because there were plenty of Jews, like Paul's family was Jewish back in Denmark, but they weren't halakhically Jewish, right? His great grandfather Chesky married a Gentile and was cut out of the family. And they didn't baptize their kids, and they were Jewish, but they weren't part of the Jewish thing. Donnie, if you want to jump on, you could jump on. Chezi, you're doing it because you are curious and intrigued. Does there need to be a deeper reason?
Well, yes, Donnie, because like I'm spending time, like I could be right now, right? This conversation, I could be studying, I could be learning, I could be doing other stuff with my time by engaging over here. Like, I'm not doubting right now. I had to also do this for myself, Donnie. The time spent last year. I did a lot of these just chattings, And I had like a few months where I was engaging a lot. Because also Jacob was asking for like more engagement on the channel. He's also really wanted to push this just chatting thing, which I think everyone agrees was a success and allowed us to sort of move into another iteration of the TLC, which I think was fantastic. And others here might say like, no, we used to do this in the past, so great. I'm wrong. This is my experience.
No, we used to do this not on YouTube. We used to do it in Discord.
In Discord, right. So the YouTube level and the chat and the comments and the engagement obviously changed some things. But I couldn't tell myself and my wife and my family, not that they were asking to me, like, are you just spending hours or just talking to Christians about just chatting? And there's lively conversation over there, and I'm representing Judaism and all that good stuff. However, a Pirkei Avot class with Ben that has like people ask questions and engagement, that is a lot more real. Speaking to Noahides, that's like a call to action. Making a channel and now giving these little weekly portion snippets, that's real. So like I could say I'm doing something. I wanted to, when the Jerusalem conference was still up in discussion, and even the organization, it felt to me like this corner is something that could bring people together. It's a conversation I haven't heard before. Talking about a brave space and all, like how do Jews and Christians and Muslims finally move on to the next step? And a lot of those things seem like dreamland, but here was a platform where seemingly brave conversation was happening. Jacob's yelling into Christians' face that they're heretics. I'm a heretic. So like all that became like a lot more real, and I felt like this was the fertile ground to engage. Excuse me for one moment.
Andrew, who let you on my channel?
I don't know, man. Some Jewish guy, I think.
Apparently. How are things in Irvine?
They're going.
They're going.
Mhm.
If your parents find out you're on my channel, you're gonna become homeless. How's Chick-fil-A?
Good.
Good?
Mhm.
Have you
Well-
made assistant manager yet?
No, afraid not. They have me in training actually.
To become an assistant manager?
No, to become a regular employee.
But you were an employee.
Yeah, I know, right? It's crazy out here.
Okay.
Mhm.
Hey Andrew.
How's it going, Hezzy?
Thank God I'm doing well.
That's good.
Like Andrew would be here's a good test study, test case. We might have talked about this in the past, but it's been some time right now. So Andrew, your involvement, let's say, with this little corner, some of it could be theological, some of it could be social, right? Like I'm actually close now with Jacob and I'm close with Trey, so like I want to hang out with them, and that's why I'm engaging. But to you, do you see the Jewish component in let's say the theological level that you're engaging with this little corner? Do you see the Jewish component as a feature? Do you see it as like a strange bug, which is like, why do I have to deal with this while I'm engaging with my theology? Before you answer that, I'm just gonna say,
Oh, what happened?
God decided he was talking too much.
The great thing about the very least Judaism and Christianity is that there's a good bit of overlap. So it's not
There
as if
is.
well, what can I say? There's more overlap than let's say like a Buddhist and Christianity, you know? I mean sometimes it's hard to find each other like find out what you're saying. And I think in some instances you have to leave that to the professionals, you know, like you and Father Stephen study this more than I possibly can. And I often think that some of the just chatting conversations is just like people wanting to talk whatever comes on their mind and not really finding each other and stuff like that. I hear people trying to use like Viveki terms and Pajot and all that sort of stuff like in the same instance, and it sounds like gibberish, you know? But yeah, I mean, like, man, I gotta say, like, the one thing I like about the whole like Noah Hyde question is that it seems set up like a kind of TLC, you know? Like, it's not, how do I say?
Well, some versions. The version of Noahides that says Christians can be Noahides is very TLC-ish. Yes.
Yeah.
But Rabbi Shirky's version, which Chezi likes, I think is more. No. You have to be Noahides, as in you have to say we're Jewish.
Well, yeah, his opinion is I'm not pushing this opinion that Christians could also be considered Noahides. Rather, his attitude is let the Noahides who want to be Noahides be Noahides, and then once like there's like a whole movement, if there's also Christians that identify as Noahides, like yes, we have tools to bring them in as well. But his main move is like I don't want to be rebooting this whole institution of Noahides already with saying like, well, it also means really like.
So there are two things I actually want to see. One, I want to see some Noahide in the United States get a Teuda from a real Beis Din and demand an Israeli passport according to the law of return. I want to see how Israel deals with that.
I mean, these are already discussions. I don't know if it would be like.
Has anybody actually applied for it?
No one's applied for it, but they have a law already built in. It's called Chasidei Umot HaOlam. It's an empty law. It's from the term like from the Rambam. We have these Hasidim. However, it's used right now just of people that saved Gentiles that saved Jews in the Holocaust, and we plant this tree for them in this memorial place called Yad Vashem.
Yeah.
Right. However, Rav Shirky would like to, using that clause already, open it up to more recognition, which comes with some sort of right. So I don't think it means at this point it means a passport, but it could maybe mean like. And this was
this is the thing. I fundamentally disagree with Rav Shirky on how he wants to do this, and who am I to disagree with Rabbi Shirky? But
Jacob, just to be fair, it makes sense to me why you disagree with him specifically because his shita is the Noahide movement becomes relevant because of the state of Israel.
Right, which he's wrong.
Well, he's wrong.
The state of Israel is garnished.
Well, he's not saying Noahides don't exist without the state of Israel, but his whole case is dinim and making their own courts needs to be in connection and congregating could only happen once you're recognized by the Jewish state. And you will obviously say the Jewish state we're seeing right now is not a.
I think that a Gentile Noahide who believes in the 13 principles of Jewish faith is more of an actual citizen of any state that considers itself a Jewish nation than somebody who's Hefker or a Chiloni.
I hear what you're saying. This goes back to our discussion about Dina Demachuta Dina, though. Once you're living in a situation where, like, on the ground, and this is not the end all be all, and it's not the ideal, you have things that are already in play, right? History is already in play, right? This is sort of what, like, Schleep was asking you, like, what's your alternative? Now that this is the manifestation, our job is to now correct it and turn the state of Israel into what it's actually supposed to be, not
Okay, in a real Jewish state, the role of a Noahide is more recognized than a Jew who's a putz.
right. So he would like there to be, well, like there's steps, right? His organization already has been recognized by the government and been recognized by the Rabbanut in Israel, right? So that for them is a very big step towards the right direction. Unfortunately, they've been completely hammered with regards to financing this year because all the money that was allocated from them from the government has been taken away for the war efforts, understandably so. And I was telling them, like, it's very difficult to fundraise from Jews for Noahides, and definitely during wartime.
Yeah, I mean, what kind of fundraising? I mean, what does he need with funds?
No, there's translations of books, there's content, there's assisting the local communities. They want to have seminaries for rabbis to come. They want Noahide sages to be developed. So they want people leaving their communities, like in Austin or whatever, coming here for like a month or two long seminar where they get to meet Rabbi Shulman and they get to meet Rabbi Shurkin, the different rabbis, and they get to arm themselves with what they need to assist the community, and then build the community over there, and then be able to have, and that the Noahide Center here could, and other Noahide organizations could assist, help cultivate these communities. I mean, it's a worthy goal. The problem is, and definitely during wartime, first you have to break through even with Orthodox Jews. Who are the Noahides, right? That's level one. Level two is going to be like, wait, why are we help? That's a cute
Look,
little idea.
this is there's no reason why Jews would spend money on this because we are not an evangelical faith. If a Noahide has questions and wants to hire and wants to pay for translations and wants to buy books, right? Then let the Noahides do it.
1 second. What did the Rebbe say? Wasn't the Rebbe pushing?
There's a reason why Chabad is very mixed on this.
So my and Rav Shurki's point is that for 2,000 years, you're right, we had to deal with like pogroms.
Okay, this Zionist bullshit is just Zionist bullshit that's not going to speak to me.
It's nothing to do with bullshit. Jacob,
1948 was a Churban. That's what it was.
You have to agree that having a conversation, right? That you could agree that there was a shift from 1948 where it was now there's a place where I could live and seemingly be safe.
As opposed to in 1920, there wasn't.
You tell me that Jews are safe around the world?
I don't think that the Medina Shel Gehinom has in any way contributed to Jews being more safe.
I would just advise you to be more careful with the terms you use, just because, like, what if you're wrong, Jacob?
What if I am wrong?
Okay,
God
will come and say, like, I get that you were against Israel. Why do you have to keep on bashing my beautiful, beautiful land?
I love the land of Israel. The Medina Shel Gehinom is something else.
Yeah, but even then, you're learning Tanya, right?
Yes.
Why can't you just recognize that the secular state is a klipat noga, right? And that the evil from it needs to be removed, and the good from it needs to be extracted.
Okay.
Great,
So
okay,
you
so see
do you
the
know
potential-
how you extract things out of a klipa? You break the klipa.
Sure. See, but I'm saying see the potentiality. That's why when I look,
Okay.
even this war right now, unfortunately, the fact that the government and its security conceptions and its leadership failed so badly is an indication of cracks in the shell. Okay, I don't want to learn lessons this way, but this is not like this is still very much in biblical style and scale.
Yeah, a year ago you kept on saying we're a superpower. We're a superpower.
We are a superpower.
You're not a superpower.
We are a superpower. We just can't. I mean, you could see no one is a superpower anymore, as you can see, because Dresden wouldn't have happened today. We wouldn't even be able to stop the Nazis because the world would be saying it's too many dead people, too much. That's a different problem where everyone in the world is dealing with. Like, it doesn't really matter that we have nukes because you can't use them. And then even if
Right.
you use
Eile berecha ve'eile besusim ve'anachnu b'shem Hashem nidgol.
You're right, Jacob. But even for us to recognize ourselves as returning to be dependent on God and a religion, still required us to have our footing as a superpower. All these things.
No, it just required all the people who thought that Rechav and Susim actually matter to realize, oh no, that's not how it works.
Well, it's not how it only works. Jacob, do you think what do you think happens right now if the Israelis just lay down all their weapons? Do you think it won't matter?
Look, I don't. I think it certainly would matter. That's why I am perfectly fine with Israelis having a tactical retreat to Australia or to the United States or to any other country. And I'm perfectly fine with Netanyahu going to the UN and saying, hey, you guys want to solve this problem and give us Uganda? Give us Uganda.
That would be spitting in God's face.
Chas v'shalom.
I mean, you already have the land.
What? No, you don't have the land. That's why you're mocher it every 7 years. It's your Rabbanut who sells the entirety of the land every 7 years.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited for you eventually to come over here and be dancing in the streets of Jerusalem as a proud.
I love the streets of Jerusalem.
The time will come, Jacob. I'm not.
I look back to the days I was there. I can't believe it's been 24 years since I've been there.
The time will come,
and I look forward to it when Mashiach comes.
Right. So that goes back to how. While the Christians may have disagreements between themselves, I feel like how does the Jewish little corner not eventually become a sore thumb?
Look, to some extent, I have to, like, if they decide that they're going to make some sort of channel without me, that's their option. If it's going to be a Christian thing, then they can leave me out of it. They might leave Sam out of it. The fact is, I'm not sure that if they do actually make an organization, Sam is going to be invited, much less me. Much less the Muslims. Much less Raj.
Who's thinking of making an organization?
The TLC is apparently discussing it again.
No, they're not talking about organization. They're talking about, like, where do we go from here? How does this? I mean, some people's answers are like, creativity, build, do. So sure.
Yes.
I mean, I could point to Jacob saying, okay, build and do. He starts this organization called Fountain of Comfort, right? So there you can be like, there's movement. He's trying to do. Max is moving over here. Maybe he's going to help him on the social work end. So those.
I'm actually very surprised that I have received more than $1,000 in donations from Fountain of Comfort. That's I'm very glad about that.
That's good. You should now invest that all into Bitcoin, triple it, sell it again, move it to the Caymans, bring it back. Yeah, I mean, when I hear, I would think it would be very hard to continue with TLC if Sam's not there and Grimm's not there.
Look, I again, I am bound by Judaism. Like this channel is the most kosher Jewish thing about me. I don't stream on Shabbat. I don't there's Baruch Hashem an actual posek, right? And if Rabbi Yitzchak were to say X, Y, or Z, I would do it. If he said halachically, when he decided to ban Claire, right? He was the only person in the entire Discord who could have banned Claire, and I didn't immediately undo it. I said, Rabbi, if you have a halachic reason why this is how it should be, you're Mara Da'atra, and that's what's gonna be.
She I haven't seen her in a long time.
Claire?
I guess she saw fresh
He banned
blood.
Claire, but she's back.
Yeah. How does that happen?
Well, because he said while he thought it was a bad idea, halachically, it's not it's not something that I was required to do.
To be clear, also, I think to be fair, anyone's first interaction with Claire might be like, "This is nuts," but if you think about it, and then you recognize that everyone in this community is already aware of who she is, there's a lot less threat involved at that point because she's sort of seen as the troll under the bridge and not as like, you just know then you're going to go on the bridge, she's just going to jump out at you. And at this point, it's sort of comical. Most of the comments back to her are like, so, you know what I mean?
She's a good influence.
Like, I'm not, like, it was fun. I'm so desensitized. I was looking at something on my computer and my wife was like, what was that? I was like, what was what? There's a woman holding like a Nazi flag. I was like, what? I was like, oh, right.
Oh, Claire, yeah.
I'm like, ignore that. She's like, what do you mean ignore that? I'm like, I can't get into it, and it's just nothing you need to worry about, okay? And then I have to think from her perspective, why is my husband seeing some Asian-looking woman with like
wearing a gun, holding a gun in front of a Nazi flag? Yeah.
Right.
That picture of Claire never gets old.
But it's I was like transitioning from that to like go do homework with the boys. I was like, it's nothing. 1 second. Here, come. Let's go work on your math. So yes, I hear that, and I'm glad again that rabbi came. I guess really, what about a conversation with Paul and the rabbi?
I mean,
if he's the rabbi of your corner,
he is, but. Paul, so this is our favorite picture of Claire. Look, I'm waiting for Father Stephen to because he's assured me that he can explain how Romans 7 is actually not a forgery of Talmudic logic, and so I'm looking forward to you, Yosef, and Rabbi Yitzchak being a whatchamacallit, being a based-in to see if he's right or not. Because as far as I've been able to see, Romans 7 is a obvious forgery. Now, that is far more interesting to me than trying to get Paul to speak to Rabbi Mullet, because after I I convinced Rabbi Mullet to be willing to talk to Paul. Paul was like, "Oh, okay, if he wants to." I'm like, "That's not what it's like. That's not how Orthodox rabbis work."
Yeah, but then again, it's sorry. Go ahead, Andrew.
No, I'm just laughing. It's like You know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I convinced Rabbi Mullets that if Paul were to ask, he would say he would go. And
Yeah.
Paul's like, well, if he wants, and it's like, no, like that's
But-
definitely not happening.
But like you said, Jacob, Paul is not in the business of like,
Evangelizing.
well, I don't
It's
think
beyond
I don't
that.
think
Paul is not happy at the number of people I've taken out of churches, and the fact is, I have taken people out of churches.
well, okay, so let's just exactly. So that sort of that question, right? And
Mhm.
Paul, Paul's not gonna. Paul doesn't think, oh, I'm gonna one day get Chazi Yov and Chazi Yosef and Jacob. They're gonna flip one day, and I don't think that. I don't think that's his job, and I also don't think I don't think anyone that we interact with is like, they're almost there.
Oh, there's plenty of people who think I'm almost there. With funny people who are like, especially weird evangelicals who are like, oh, the Jews are all going to become Christians one day.
I guess
People
that'd
who
be
have
like,
history
a
backwards.
that would be like a big day for the TLC, right? If all three of us decided to like convert.
That would be a huge day, but the fact is
Wait, all
that
three
the
of us?
Noahides, that like all of the movement has been the other way.
Right. So that's, I guess, that's what I wonder if at some point does it become like I'm like 2 levels deep over here. I have a Noahide group that's also Zionistic, right? So it's the Keds, Jacob, and the Christian corner over here. You know what I mean? Like it's very.
But by the way, Kirk, I listened to your discussion with Sterling and that other atheist. Sterling is an interesting guy. You were taking him too seriously, but you actually did a pretty good. You did a better job than I suspected.
But
So
I'll tell you
You
why.
have too low of an
I'll tell you
expectation for me.
why
What?
Kirk
Did I
did a
again?
good job. First of all, Sterling was writing down material bits as he was. Number two, Kirk did a good job because like he took Sterling so literally, where like so Sterling was like, I guess I just have to like answer him now.
Jacob, you have too low of an estimation of me.
We're singing your praises.
We love
Singing
you,
your
Kirk.
praises.
Matthew, I have to say that entire conversation went in crazy ways that I never would have allowed if I had been on the channel. Like I would have cut through the bullshit so much faster. But yeah, Kirk, you held your own better than I had feared.
You need to have higher expectations for me.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Nah, I think we're pretty close, but
You hopefully one day soon you'll be able to tell when somebody like Sterling is being sarcastic.
even if he's being sarcastic, if I still pull his tongue, I can make a point to the audience.
Yeah. Okay, Kirk. Let's give it a minute. Sterling couldn't yeah, that's part of the problem. Sterling doesn't actually like. I love the man, but he takes things very literally, and that's why he finds all of our religious talk to be like absurd. And so he makes jokes, which is fine, and he's actually brilliant.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, I think there's a reason why Sterling sometimes drops in on this channel, because despite the fact that he's living the materialist dream, and he really is living the materialist dream. I mean, he's like partying and having sex. It's still not getting him the happiness that he imagined materialism gives. You are muted, Chazi.
Matthew's the guy that was on there yesterday. That's like a big John Vervaeke fan.
I think so. Yeah. Have you had a chance to listen to the whole thing?
I listened to like some of it. I was just like cleaning that. I was just doing some stuff around the house. So I didn't listen to the whole conversation, but I saw like little snippets of it.
The conversation goes all over the place, and Matthew and me talking might get really nasty really fast because like I just like I cut through things. Like he's much more of a Grail country. There's a reason there are people who are Grail country people, and there are people who are Jacob people.
Yeah, but so I mean, Matthew's response was, he's like, "Oh, this looks like such a nice channel. You guys are being so gracious and understanding," and that is very true. Where like there's like a lot of opinions flying over here until you hit the mattresses, and then like you gotta. So Jacob, I mean, you could decide how you want to engage, right? You could decide to come in and be like,
we could be ortho bros, we could be ortho Jewish bros, and
Well, okay, so the way, I mean, my channel's open, right? And there's Jason has things, right? And I am like, if Grail Country didn't exist, I would help it to come into being. I was very happy about the discussion that they had last night. And the only reason I listened to it was somebody was like, "Did you listen to this?" It was like, "Oh, I guess I have to now listen to this." And it's like, okay, let them. No, there's no debate here, Matthew. That's the problem. No, it's not. That's the problem. Like, Grail Country is not a courtyard of dialogos. It is a courtyard of confusion. This is not a place of debate. It's a place of actual logos.
Yeah,
I don't engage in debates. I really don't.
which is one of the things that's confusing because I thought Jews love debates.
Yeah, last night, well, we love clarifying the situation. Yeah, the
Speak about that.
Sterling and his friend were there to debate. Yeah, that was debate culture, which was part of the reason why people were like, "Why do you have But yeah, my place is not debate. Yes, you were saying, cousin.
I just wanted to stress that, like, where again it sometimes feels like a debate, and you could have there could be opposing sides, but the attitude is really toward it's the exploration of truth, and really to clarify and explore who's speaking, who's the counterpart, what are they actually trying to say, and I do think you see in these conversations, people change their minds, people move, people come and say like now that and a lot of times it required 20 minutes of sort of intense conversation to make it to the other side when you recognize like, okay, now I see what you meant. I would say that as these conversations go on, should people pick up more skills, how to have a 20 conversation become a 10-minute conversation, and how always to try to have
no.
If you could masterly have less intense comments and flamboyant assertions, I'm not saying that you're using them to be flamboyant, but just how we naturally talk, we could always be working and refining the way we converse.
But having a shorter conversation isn't a good thing necessarily.
Chazi, the thing is, like, it's not about me, Jacob, personal, right? It's if there are, like, it's about Hamidu Talmidim Harbe, right?
Right.
And if these conversations are going to be had, it's not conversations me to 1,000 people. It's conversations me to a few people who they can go and have more conversations, right? So it's not about me skilling up. It's about us skilling up.
Yeah, sure. Correct, as a collective. Well, correct, yes. And that's we talk about this being, you know, a brave space and not a safe space, because you got to be sort of brave to express yourself honestly, clearly.
I mean, the best types of debates are conversations which get to the truth.
Debate. I mean, debate bro culture on YouTube is sick.
But that's
and
not real
weird.
debates.
Yeah, but that's where Sterling and his friend were coming from.
Yeah, if you want a
Jacob
real debate, go to a
destroys
courtroom.
the New Testament.
What?
I
I
said,
said
if you want,
Jacob destroys the New Testament.
Yeah,
That-
like I've done like
No.
destroyed with facts and logic
I've seen you
videos. Like
do videos against a black Hebrew Israelite retard named Lion Zion. Like,
yeah.
but
if
that's
you
not
actually,
real debate.
No, it's not debate at all. I mean, if you looked at my videos, if you watched my videos, like what I did at the time, my office was next to a Walmart, and you could see the Walmart sign from my office. So I had moved the camera so you could see the Walmart sign behind me, and I'm like, I'm just the insurance guy behind the Walmart, and I know more Hebrew than you do. And I was calling myself the insurance guy behind the Walmart. I was not engaging in debate culture. I
Yeah,
was
like if
yeah.
but I'm saying if you want a true debate, listen to a Supreme Court transcript before you listen to Destiny.
There's no reason for an intelligent human being to listen to Destiny.
If you saw his arc on his deep dive on Israel, I mean, for Israelis, it was quite fascinating.
Why?
Well, you
Did he
see
get
someone-
things right or wrong?
He got him right.
If you think he got him right, I have to wonder. Zen Christianity, I'm not sure I really understood what you meant by Zen Christianity. I mean, if you want to jump on, Matthew, we can have a talk. We can discuss. And I'm actually a pretty nice guy. You will see. Even though I will be like, no, that's bullshit. Like, I will do it lovingly.
You could work on being more agreeable, but
I'm not sure that's the best thing for the world.
you need to embrace the qualities of the woman in your life.
Well, once I find a woman, I will embrace her. Thank you. Chezi left. I think Andrew's leaving too. Kurt, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I mean, I can talk for a little bit one-on-one if Andrew's not gonna talk, but
Sure. What do you want to talk about, Kurt?
well, so how about this week's Torah portion? It's pretty interesting.
What about this week's Torah
So
portion?
this
I
week's
haven't
Torah,
read it yet.
it's called Vayahe is it Vayahe or Vayache?
Vayachi.
Vayahi. Well, it's in this leading up to the story of Passover, but I guess one of the interesting things I was talking to Hezi in the Pirkei Avot stream is, we believe in Judaism anyone can repent no matter how great of a sinner, but God hardened Pharaoh's heart, which is an interesting contradiction that we have to resolve.
That is one of the big questions in Judaism. Hello, Matthew. Welcome. That is one of the big questions in Judaism is what does it mean that God hardened Pharaoh's heart? And there are various answers given. But the gist of it comes down to the fact is that while we have some free will, right? There's free will to some extent in some times. And when you make sometimes you have made your decision and you're going to end up sleeping in that bed. And I believe the Talmudic term is b'derech she'adam ratzeh lavor molichanoto. The way that a man wants to go, that's where he will end up going, and which actually kind of scares me at
Fuck
times.
around and find out.
But yeah. And I'm not sure I would say that, but yes, man. Oops.
Well, that was nice.
What happened to him?
I don't know. He said and then he disappeared.
Nope.
Crazy
Jacob,
out here.
do you have a favorite Torah portion?
A favorite Torah portion? I'm not sure I would say I have a favorite Torah portion. Chazzy says it's not Vayechi this week.
Oh, I might. Let me see. Oh, let me see. I did go to synagogue, but I forgot.
It is Bo.
Oh, Bo. Is Vayechi next week?
No, Vayechi is in Genesis. Bo, we're in Shemot already.
Yeah,
apologize.
missed it.
Hey, how are you
We will
doing?
never forgive you.
Great. Man, hold on. Give me 1 second to rack my brain. I kind of just woke up out of sleep. I had something on that I was going to ask.
Could I ask, where do you live?
Yeah, I just moved. Yeah, shout out to this little corner. I just moved my whole life in August. A lot to do with the emotional, philosophical fortitude that this little corner has afforded me. Oh, that's where I was going to go. See, that's why we have to have conversations. Put it on my tombstone. It just jarred it. Okay, so my answer with the free will. Are you familiar with the degrees of freedom? Like
Matthew, what state
I
are
know the concept.
Yeah, so we have degrees of freedom. So basically, like there's a limit to like my biomechanics. Basically, would you
Mhm.
like there's a limit to how fast you get, how fast like supposed human biomechanically abilities. So what the degrees of freedom issue would be that you have this range of action, and so there's, like you said, there's a version of agency there. There's a version of free will. And then the other point that I tag into it then would be that you do whatever this notion of agency in an arena, whatever this notion of an action and this this phenomenon of will. I mean, it sure does. I sure do feel like it, and I sure do live like it. I live as though I do have it. So
Yeah, so the
I think we get into the blurriness of where does the truth come from, and how messy that word truth is at these points. But
the free will determinism debate just does not interest me, despite the fact it seems to interest a lot of people. But the question was,
that's my standard jiu-jitsu move.
That's your standard what move?
Jiu-jitsu move, conversational jiu-jitsu move.
What is?
I offer them the agent arena notion and the degrees of freedom notion.
I'm not sure I understand what you're saying.
I'm saying I resolve the free will debate with combining the two ideas, if the conversational partner, if it lands for them, of degrees of freedom along with an agent, an eternal agent arena, relationship that phenomenologically feels like, and I live as though, without being a performative contradiction, as though I have it. And that's kind of that was just my concise little.
Yeah,
that's my move on that.
I got that you're engaging with the determinism free will thing. It's just I don't see any reason to engage it. I personally I don't see it as being a useful, let's say you believe in determinism, right? How does that change how you act?
I touched on that. I agree.
So yeah, that's anyway.
So
you were telling us you moved. Where did you move to, and how did you move?
Oh yeah. So I just I was working in construction with a Good Old Boy company, and I wasn't part of the Good Old Boys. I'll probably never be part of the Good Old Boys. And they had offered me a decent position to go change trades, so I didn't have my expertise to kind of lean on. I moved out of carpentry and into like glass and windows and doors and stuff. Anyways, and so I had a job opportunity from a friend out in energy capital, West Texas, for a real big job. Actually, you guys could even look at it. It was the first carbon air capture in North America. So big vacuum tower to clean the air. Anyways, that I had the nerve and the gumption and the support, digital support. I really wasn't even jumping on live streams at that point, but because of you guys, I'm pretty direct. I'm a John Vervaekean. Jordan Peterson was awesome to me. Like, he really woke me up in a lot of ways, but my life has not been the same since I encountered John Vervaeke's work.
I
And
have
I think
not seen a single thing from John
good
Vervaeke.
you have a good
He's a cool
level
guy, Kirk. I think you'd like him.
of intelligence, Federetti. I think you can appreciate the actual rigor and bona fides that he brings. It's and I don't want to say that as a critique of JP, but I think it's wise and honest
You mean
to
Jordan
recognize
Peterson?
what.
Yeah.
Say that again.
By JP, you mean Jordan Peterson? Okay,
Yes,
because
sir. Yes, sir.
there's also a JP Marceau who's involved in this little corner. So every time
Okay.
you were
And
talking about
Jonathan
JP, guys,
Pajot.
and there's Jonathan Pajot. So it's like
Yeah,
it's
but
kind of hard to know.
I call Pajot.
Okay.
But hey, speaking of Pajot, to really do the dialogos, your move on the free will debate reminds me of how Pajot deals with the atheistic comment of like irrelevant to the human experience things. Like, he's like Pajot is the most phenomenal. He's the most extreme phenomenologist in my opinion. Here, he got me to really grasp phenomenology, and so he just says, he's like, he says it like you. He's like, that is an irrelevant, nonsensical, just a sophistry move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you were saying you moved to West Texas?
Yes. Moved my whole life but I didn't have much of a life. I've already I've already made a lot of bad decisions when I was a young man. So
Been there, done that. But you go to a Catholic church?
Yes, as a technical Zen Christian, and so we can get into that now.
Well, so you said you go to the Catholic church. Like, do you take communion? Do you go to confession?
Yes. So I was Italian. Third generation. So parlato, to speak, well spoken. So very extroverted. I'm probably just gonna find my groove as the much less contrarian and hard JV version, hard John Vervaeke version of a Luke Thompson. And I actually have a bugaboo with Luke Thompson. I can't wait to finally talk to him one day. If you want me to air that one too. But anyway, so I'm trying to stay on track here. So with moving, I had the job opportunity. I prayed about it. First time in my life I prayed about it. And I didn't have the friend group. I wasn't getting I wasn't finding the girlfriend in Florida. And so God told me, you'll find what you're looking for there. I moved out here for the $100,000 job and got after 2 months being the most popular, most well-liked guy on the crew, got conspired to be fired. Said I threatened violence, gentlemen. They said I threatened violence. And so was stuck here in Midland, but never lost my faith. Have never lost, because, like I said, because of the growth and support that I found here in TLC. And I mean that. I swear. I hope you guys are taking this genuinely. It sounds so, but I swear. Anyways, was able to fall in love with Midland a little bit, and stayed here and found good work. I mean, they pay very, very well. Learning a whole new trade too. They're going to pay me. I just got hired on full time. I did the temp program for about 3 months. Full time at the beginning of the year. I run my whole department now. They're going to pay for my college. The benefits are great. I'm going to go to Canada. I hope.
How long have you been listening to TLC?
About 4-ish years. And in the early, this is an idea that I want someone could talk about, is going into real detail on how, on the phases of getting into it, I think, or at least maybe I could do it. Because I remember, man, here's a funny one. I remembered really not enjoying PVK, but just cards on the table. I listen to I'm a vociferous PVK fan now, years later. But I remember there was 3 or 4 videos. I was just like, all this guy does is quote C.S. Lewis. All this guy does is quote C.S. Lewis. I was like, I was so protective of JV. I was like, is he up to it? And like I said, that was all my own arrogant stuff that I was dealing with. But so I'm in Midland, Texas.
When did you decide to start jumping on streams?
I was working a Saturday morning by myself, earning all this respect at this new job. You know, before I got hired on, I was still a temp, and it was a slow Saturday, and I had already impressed my bosses so much that I was like, I'm gonna take me a nice little long lunch and jump on to a Grill Country Luke stream, and I got on early. And this was right around ARC. And actually, you had said, okay, this is what we could talk about. I actually want to talk to you about something. You're one of the characters in it. This is why we have to have conversations. So it was around ARC. And the notion of there was kind of an elephant in the room in TLC, I think, is that when it comes down to remember and body, there still feels like with the clown world today, let's just say, with the clown culture today, there still feels like a very, let's say, political performance that goes on. That's kind of all I want to say, because I don't want to give the politics too much. I don't want to give it too much air.
You don't want to give what much air?
The politics. Do you remember? Do you remember the political stuff percolating up in TLC a little bit around ARC?
I mean, you can't get away from politics. The people who claim to get away from politics are just not ignoring what politics is around them. I mean, what can I say?
Well, see, that's a very interesting aspect we can go here, and I would feel comfortable talking to you about is, before about almost a year ago, I had a real epiphany moment. On my journey into this stuff, it went down from psychology with JP into philosophy, into political philosophy, because everything was political. So I've read I'm a fairly well read. I've read, and even saying the authors' names because of the dynamic of our culture and time will reveal me. You know what I mean?
Have you ever read Ayn Rand?
I've read Strauss. Yes, son. I've read Ayn Rand. I've read Strauss. I've read Schmidt. I've read Machiavelli. I've read just some more of the darker portrayed minds in our culture. The taboo ones, and then full cards on the table, because when I was young, I was the other way. I'm not going to do anything half-assed. I was as woke as they came when I was spiraling in my despair. But on my journey out, until I finally had the unplugged moment where I was like, and here's I'd like to offer you this one, my thought experiment for why I'm now apolitical. I don't believe in politics. Is if you're familiar with a author of Oswald Spengler, who wrote Decline of the West, and he argues for like a cyclical kind of move, in that all things grow and die, and the analogy is just like a flower. Things percolate, things blossom, things flower, things start to decay, and then things go away. But I say all that to just, my thought experiment for you would be, if you were stranded on a desert island with your family and you had disagreements, real disagreements, do you think things would get political? And then I would suggest, or I would offer I said, no, I would go to my brother humbly and genuinely, and I'd say, hey, here's my issue, brother. And my brother would say, okay, brother, let's resolve this. And so my point is, and this would be the Leo Strauss kind of move from we've fallen from the transcendent politics of Plato into the Machiavellian realpolitik. That was the move that has been described in the story, in the history, and in the narratives that I'm reading. And so
I think that makes a fundamental mistake, because the fact is, when we're in small groups, we don't have to be political, and we deal with people on a one-to-one basis.
It is a fun experience.
But the political is when you have large groups of people. And so your thought experiment is, if I was on a desert island, and that's a lot like, if there was no political, would I be political? Well, no. The political is at the level that's hundreds of people.
That's touche. That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, we live on a planet with 8 billion people, and part of my criticism of a lot of people in this little corner, TLC. That's what TLC is. This little corner, Kirk.
Yeah, I know that. I know that.
Yeah, but Kirk didn't.
Okay. Yeah.
Is are we going to be open enough to let more people in? Or are we going to continue being the type of people that Luke wants, which is we don't actually care about 8 billion people, we only care about us?
I mean,
Yeah, I think
that
there's
is what,
probably.
What
Go
were you
ahead.
saying,
Go ahead,
Kirk?
kid.
I guess that's one of the criticisms you could have of like ANCAPs, like ANCAPs who say we need to decentralize all force in society. It's like,
Yeah,
well,
that's just being silly and stupid.
have
Yeah.
you ever heard of this
That,
guy
that,
named?
that's all based off of individualism, and individualism is debunked, brother. Individualism, we're seeing a
Individualism
lot
is
of
not a
what happens
problem.
when you worship individualism. You know, you were connected at birth by cord. You know, you've never been an individual. It's a great
It, de-
abstraction. It's very
it
useful.
it depends on the extent of the individualism.
So who's
I
really
mean,
Indeed.
look,
Indeed.
the individual is important, but no individual human being, an individual human being is dead.
It's like anything. It has to be nested properly. It has to be nested properly. I'll do the Peugeotian move. It has to be nested properly. But yeah, so that would be. And all right, well, I'll just go ahead and put my bugaboo with Luke, because I am a people person, and I want to just put out right up front. I love Luke. He's brilliant. He taught me about what the notion of mammon. His Mosaic vision is brilliant. Is actually his Mosaic vision is genius. And but here's my critique would be, he calls himself a contrarian, and so I would ask him bluntly in the Socratic way, and in a Socratic dance, I would say, would you contrare the logos?
I mean,
Would he contrare the logos? Because that's where I'm like, hey man, I don't know if I'm down with that, man. My heroes say follow the logos wherever it may go, brother. The logos is it's like, I get, and I love, like I said, I love Luke, and be contrarian all the way.
You're trying to get consistency out of Luke. Luke's answer is going to be probably not, and that's because Luke and that corner, Grail Country, is inherently Trinitarian. They are people who look for mystery. They are people who look for illogic and obfuscation.
I don't watch your channel enough to understand this lore.
While I appreciate
let's just get
them
into
for
it.
what they are, but when
just
it
get
comes
into it.
down to it, that is the world of confusion there.
Hey, let's just get into it, because it's getting late, and I don't know how much longer I'll have you for. Then how do you do the one and the many? What is your move if you don't have the
many? It's one and many. It's not one and three. It's one and many, and an infinite many becomes one. See, that's the. So it has to be one and many.
It's almost at the poles or something. At the poles they come back or something. That's very beautiful.
No, I mean the one and the many is something that the Bible itself talks about in terms of one and many. In the Hebrew, the waters of the many cannot quench love. That is a verse in the Bible, right? But Trinitarian Christianity has perverted that into one and three.
Yeah.
And that just
and the way I understand it is if there's unity and multiplicity, and then there must be the love that moves between all three, and that the way the unity can emanate down to us is through love, and the way we can emerge and move towards the most transcendent is through love. And so the love kind of interpenetrates all three. But that's my understanding of it. But hey, I wanted to go back to just hear what you. Hey, one second.
Andrew, can you mute yourself, please?
Unless you have a real comment to that. Okay, well, I want to just go back to, because you said something beautiful there. I thought I liked how you said it. Could you repeat? It's one and many, and when the many become infinite, go ahead.
That's when they become one.
Say it all again, please.
Okay, so it's the one and the many, and when you have an infinite many, that's when it becomes one.
That's beautiful. I love that. I'm a
Well,
wordsmith. I'm a weirdo word. I write. I write a lot. So that's very
Jake,
beautiful.
Yes, Kurt.
so the analogy I've heard a Christian acquaintance of mine use is that just like if you have a Swiss Army knife, there's one Swiss Army knife, but it's like 5 parts, all like in the same knife, because you can
Yes,
flip it.
and then
That's
Kurt,
heretical
you
even in
nailed it.
Christianity.
No. Listen, I got it. Were you crazy?
I
Here's
don't agree
you
with you.
nailed
I'm
it,
just
kid.
saying.
You nailed it, kid. You nailed it, kid. Because here it is. That's the one, and the one being, but yet multiple. And the conscious embodied you have the fractal of the loving spirit that interpenetrates all 3 levels. And so because there is no Swiss Army knife without a human, brother. There is no, the Swiss Army knife does not exist without a human. So you got to get back to that phenomenological embodied,
No,
reminder.
that's not at all.
Okay, I have to say, like, this is, yeah, it's getting late, and
Oh no.
yeah, the fact is, I mean, I think where this conversation is going is you have to cut through. So who was it? Were
It's
you
a
guys
stupid analogy.
talking?
I agree.
No. You guys were talking yesterday about faith, right? And
Wildcard asked me.
somebody was saying about, like, if I have faith and you have faith, then what is to make the difference, right? How do I know which is right?
Yeah,
And
that's
the
what
fact
Wildcard was
is,
asking me.
yeah, the fact is that it's reality. It's God who asserts himself, right? And I mean, if this discussion that I was having with Chezi, of why as Jews we are not an evangelizing religion, is because we actually have faith in our God, that he asserts himself.
Okay, Mr.
And
Jesus,
he
take
doesn't
the wheel.
need
All right. I see you.
But he does assert
in a
himself through
sense,
prophets,
yeah.
right?
What?
He does assert himself through prophets, right? There's and all the stories about him would be filtered to the phenomenological experience, and that would be my jiu-jitsu move. There would be I think what Christ does with the embodiness, the incarnation, right? With I'm the way, I'm a way that you can, what my favorite one of my favorite terms is an existential stance. It gets the embodiment and the worldview, and so when
Go ahead, finish.
yeah, that's fine. So I would say that there's still the filter of the interpretive structure that is just as profound, and that God offers it is in the image of Him. So that's where I think the messiness of Christianity tries to get to 3.
So I'll let Dan have the last word. In my humble opinion, I have a hard time understanding how a divine creator of parts can be limited to only 3 parts, when a divine creator of parts would be many more than only 3 parts. And I think really when it comes down to it, it has to be an infinite number of parts. But
yes, and
Andrew was kind of laughing because, frankly, we've had these discussions many times before, and I think most of us pretty much have agreed that, like, ultimately you just have to walk the walk, and we've had enough of these discussions. And I really do think
okay. I was just going to offer the PBK move of, like, once you get to 4, as a symbolic metaphor, 4 just kind of gets back to the multiplicity, and so you're back to 2, and so that would be the silly move I went. But yeah, I don't want to. Hey, if you guys don't want to have the conversation,
Jacob,
that sounds like no
in my
fun.
area,
But Jacob,
yes,
okay.
Soon Mardi Gras is coming up. Can an observant Ben Noah do it?
No, there are going to be naked women all over the place.
No, just eat king cake with my family. Eat king cake.
Oh, with your family, you can.
or go to
Look,
parade.
when it comes down to your family, if you want to ask a rabbi, Rabbi Yitzchak is on the Discord now. You can ask him specifically about your case. But like Mardi Gras, the problem with Mardi Gras is the naked women. Yes, Matthew.
I was gonna say, well, I would love to maybe chat again.
Sure. Okay, I am going to end this stream because I am going to go to bed.